By 1792, the throne of Austria was occupied by Francis II, the nephew of French Queen Marie Antoinette. He was determined to protect his aunt and also saw an opportunity to expand Austrian territory. With both Austria and France eager for conflict, war became almost inevitable. In April 1792, revolutionary France declared war on a coalition of Austria, Prussia, and French émigrés, nobles who had fled the country and now hoped to restore the old regime. Both sides expected a quick victory. As history constantly reminds us, whenever leaders promise a short, bloodless war, they are almost always wrong. The French offensive collapsed almost immediately. The Prussian and Austrian armies pushed across the borders and began advancing toward Paris. In desperation, the Legislative Assembly called for immediate reinforcements, requesting a force of 20,000 National Guardsmen to defend the capital and an additional 100,000 volunteer soldiers to strengthen the French army. Louis XVI vetoed these measures. This was effectively the last moment in which he exercised royal authority, and it destroyed what was left of his credibility. As the Prussians marched closer to Paris, their commander, the Duke of Brunswick, issued a proclamation demanding the city's surrender. He threatened to level Paris if any harm came to the royal family. When the king published the Brunswick Manifesto, it appeared to many French citizens that he was collaborating with the enemy. Rather than intimidating the revolutionaries, the manifesto inflamed passions. With the Legislative Assembly proving weak and indecisive, radical Parisian militants, supported by the Jacobin Club, launched a violent uprising on August 10, 1792. Crowds stormed the royal palace, forcing the king from his throne, and as tensions escalated, violence swept through the streets of Paris. That night, more than half the members of the legislature fled the city. The remaining representatives formed a new governing body, the National Convention. The Legislative Assembly, in effect, had ceased to exist. The National Convention, elected under new, more radical voting laws, met in the fall of 1792. It immediately declared that France would aid any European revolutionaries seeking to overthrow their governments. Then came its most dramatic act. In January 1793, the convention put the king on trial for conspiring with foreign enemies, a charge strengthened by the Brunswick Manifesto and incriminating letters found in the king's possession. On January 15th, the convention declared him guilty, and the following day, by a narrow single-vote majority, it sentenced him to death. In a striking sign of the gravity of the moment, even the king's own brother voted in favor of execution. On January 21st, 1793, Louis was executed by guillotine, which became the iconic symbol of the revolution. His death did not calm the revolution. Instead, it pushed France into a deeper and more violent phase. In April 1793, facing foreign invasion, internal rebellion, and political chaos, the National Convention created a powerful new institution, the Committee of Public Safety. Its task was to defeat France's external enemies, mobilize all national resources for the war effort, and protect the revolution from both internal dissent and counter-revolutionary threats. In practice, the Committee of Public Safety quickly became the most powerful governing body in France, holding near dictatorial authority. This marked the beginning of the revolution's most turbulent and violent period.